We are John and Ellie, the Barefoot Doctors. We lost our new Leopard 50 catamaran to fire, so we began our search for the perfect performance catamaran for sailing us around the world. After 4 decades of sailing experience, we are very clear about what we want. So join us as we explore new horizons, stretch the boundaries in yacht design, and build the ultimate catamaran. Jump on board for this adventure, and together, who knows what we can achieve? Because life is better barefoot. Hi guys, welcome back to another Barefoot Doctors episode, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to talk about the essential things that you need to know and the questions you need to ask when you're going to look at a boat at a boat show.
Yeah, we've been asked the questions like that very frequently, so we thought we might as well do a YouTube video about it so everybody can have that information. And that'll also mean when you go to a boat show, you will be able to get much more value from the visits for your time and also for the salesman's time as they're trying to sell the boat. So hopefully this will be useful, so let's get right into it.
Okay guys, so the very first thing you need to do is ascertain for yourself what sort of cruising you want to do, because that'll make a difference whether you want more of a performance kind of cruising or a laid back, very comfortable, slower, but more an apartment, spacious kind of slower cruising. So once you've established that, then you can go for the boats that fit that category. Yeah, so that's really important first up. What do you think?
Yeah. So what you're saying is you need to be clear in your own head about the kind of cruising you're going to do and the kind of boat that you want to get, because that way you can focus in on those types of boats that you're most keen on. So what is the first thing you need to look at when you are approaching a boat seller?
That's a very good question. So you need to have a close look at the company.
The nicest question to open with when you've got a salesman in front of you is to say, so tell me, what are the unique features that make your company so much better than all the others in the yacht market, or something along those lines?
What makes you stand out? Obviously you can use your terms, but
the important things about the company is also how long have they been in operation, so how many years have they been functioning and are financially secure, how many boats have they built in total, and also how many boats are they producing per year, because that'll give you some indication of their productivity and the size of their operation. Many boats isn't necessarily good, it's not a defining feature, but that'll give you some insight into the kind of company you're dealing with.
Okay, so the next thing we're looking at is really down to boat specs. So what does this entail?
So when you're in a boat show, there's usually going to be a sheet of paper by each boat with all the basic boat specs, the length, the draft, the beam, the weight, and hopefully the price as well. That's usually a very basic amount of information. There's often a few key things that they miss out, and one of the things that a lot of boat manufacturers are a little bit woolly over is the difference between light displacement and heavy displacement. It's very important because the difference between the light displacement and heavy displacement is how much stuff you can carry on board without adversely affecting the boat's performance. And you really should keep within those parameters when you are cruising your boat, because it does significantly affect the performance of your cat.
So a light displacement means how light the boat is before you put your stuff on it.
Heavy displacement is when you're full within the limit of the design of the boat. Obviously you can keep on filling the boat up because there's lots and lots of space in a cat, but it's very important to keep under that heavy displacement weight, otherwise your boat will basically sail like.
So the average could be anything from 2 to 3 tons, right?
Usually it's about 2 or 3 tons, sometimes it's 4 for bigger boats, or 5 even. The other thing to remember with this carrying capacity is that includes your fuel and your water. So if you have 1,000 litres of diesel and 1,000 litres of water, that's 2 tons already. Then you add on your food stores and your dinghy and blah, 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 blah. It all adds up very, very fast. So please be aware of that when you are looking at these kind of figures.
What about bridge deck height?
Okay, bridge deck height. Most salesmen will or should know their bridge deck height.
Why is the bridge deck height such an important issue for those people that haven't seen any of our previous videos?
Okay, so bridge deck height is obviously the height above the water between the hulls. And If you have a low bridge deck height, when you're going upwind into waves, trying to beat into the wind, that if you have a low bridge deck height, waves are going to hit your hull and it's going to slow you down and make you sail very inefficiently. So it's very important for performance, especially upwind. When you're sailing downwind, it's much less important, but you also do, a low bridge deck also gives you the slamming effect. So when you're in waves, the waves go up and hit your underwing.
Bang.
And you have all this terrible noise. So bridge deck height both gives you faster performance, but also more civilized sailing. So what's a good bridge deck height? Do you know that?
Well,
Bonnie?
actually, the 50 was very good.
It was.
We had about a metre?
We had a metre. The Leopard 50 had a metre of bridge deck height.
Yeah. So John could be in the water and reach up to under the bridge deck and still not touch.
A reasonable bridge deck height is about 0.85 of a metre, which is 2.5 feet. So 0.85 or 0.9 of a metre is what I'd really be looking for on a 45-foot boat or bigger.
Okay, so the other thing that's really important is performance polars. And you want to explain to people what they are in case they haven't seen the previous video?
Sure. Look, performance polars are the graphs that tell you how fast the boat sails at different angles of the wind and at different wind speeds. So that gives you a very detailed reference as to what kind of speeds you should get under different conditions. They are a good guide, and you can ask them directly, does the boat perform like this in real life? So they should be able to confirm whether the performance is as it is in on the polars. Sometimes they'll say the performance polars are on the website, and sometimes they'll actually give you them, which is really nice, and some brands don't give you their polars at all. Always a little bit of a concern as to why they should be hiding their polars. That always does raise red flags in my mind. Why are they not being open with their performance? And if they're not wanting to tell you the polars, then
You have to ask yourself why. What we do want to do is create a structured opportunity for people to come meet up with us to experience
Sailing.
all things sailing, and the opportunity to be up close and personal with us on lots of different events. Patreon money, now where will that go?
So all of the Patreon money will go to charity. We run a TUFMINDS charity, which is purely devoted to mental health, suicide prevention and mental resilience. So guys, if you support our Patreon channel, your money is going to save lives around the world in relation to mental health and make the world a better place. You've spoken to the salesman, maybe he's shown you around, you've asked him the questions, now you want to look at the boat. There are a few things that you should be looking at when you are trying to choose a boat. When you're looking at a boat, honey, what do you look for?
The boat absolutely has to look sexy, because it's no point spending all this money on a boat and not really falling in love with the aesthetics, the lines and the way that the boat looks. So that's really important too, even though it's not really necessary about performance, it's about cosmetic appearance.
Yeah, you need to love your boat and you need to be happy with your boat when after you've got it. So as you approach the boat, you need to say, is this a nice looking boat? Do I like the look of this boat? It's completely irrelevant from functionality point of view, but I think if you're happy with your boat, with the way it looks, it's like having a beautiful wife. You're going to love her longer and better, and
Really?
you'll all be much happier, won't you? Okay.
I thought everyone thinks their wife's beautiful.
Oh, they do.
Everyone's wife's beautiful.
They are.
Some of the most important things to look at is, say, your bridge deck. So all you have to do to see how high or low the bridge deck is, to go to the bow of the boat and have a look under to see what sort of distance it is from the waterline to the underneath the bridge deck. And the tunnel shape. So some shapes of the tunnel have been encroached so much from the hulls by trying to fit beds and other things in there that it actually eats into the space of the tunnel. So that's really important to see how wide that tunnel is.
That's right. So if you look at the shape of the boat, as in how big you see between the two hulls, how much of that space is taken up by the bridge deck being low or the hulls encroaching on the corners. And in these photographs, you can see dramatic differences between boats with good clearance in their tunnels and boats that are very limited in their tunnel volumes. And this has dramatic effects on performance.
Some tunnels you see actually have like a pointed down bit in the middle. So do you want to say about that?
That's called the nacelle, I believe. The theory of that is to break any waves that come up to hit your underwing are broken by this angle on the underwing, so you don't get a big thump. Now, if the boats are having to put in a nacelle to break the waves hitting the underwing, to me that's a little bit of a concern. It isn't necessarily a catastrophic thing that might be a design feature, but certainly if you've got low volume tunnels plus a nacelle, then I would be very concerned about that. The other thing to do before you actually get on the boat is look at the boat from the stern as well. And if you look at the shape of the hulls from the rear, you will actually see if the hull shape is fairly fat and flat, but taken up a lot of space, which will be really great for the amount of volume you have inside the boat. If the proportions of the hull at the back are fat compared to the total volume of the boat, then your boat's probably one that is going to not sail well. It's going to be very spacious inside, but it's not going to sail well. So look at the boat from the bow to see the tunnel shape, and look at the boat from the rear to see the rear hull shape and volume.
Okay, so let's talk about steering position, and that's a really important thing because so many people have different preferences about where they want to steer the boat from. Some people like to steer it right up high in the middle, like at a bridge deck, and other people like to have it at the side, and other people have it low down and exposed to the elements. So
yeah, on the stern.
Yeah, so you've got to know what sort of fits your kind of cruising style.
You can use the boat shows to actually go and sit in these positions on the boat and see what it feels like for you. Just remembering that you're not going to be on a sunny day in calm water in a marina. You're going to be out at sea, probably in a storm, certainly at night. Do you want to be in whatever position the steering station is under those conditions, especially when the weather gets bad? So as a result of that, we really absolutely don't like the aft steering stations where you're on the aft of the boat. You have wonderful views of the sail, but you're outside, you're in the rain, you're in the spray, you're in the sun, and you're in the bad weather.
Especially on long passages, that just fatigues you like nothing else.
And then of course the next type of steering position is the forward steering position, where you have the steering position just behind the mast and a door going forward, and often with the winches on the bow there. Those are boats like the Windello and the gunboats. A boat show is really useful to actually go and look at those types of things and trying to work out for yourself what it'd be like, because you need to be happy with the steering station that you get. Again, I would say try and get out and sail on one of these boats so that you know what it's like to physically do it.
Okay, so let's look at cabins. And when you are looking at cabins, you have to look at the sort of space you have in the cabin, also the layout, whether the bed is pushed all the way out to the side or you've got a little bit of wiggle room where you can get actually in and out of the bed and make the bed, because that's something that a lot of people don't even think about until you're trying to make the bed and you spread eagle across the whole bed trying to tuck the sheets in. And
the other important thing in the cabins is the headroom when you're sitting in bed. Yeah, so we like to sit up in bed, but I think getting in and out of the bed is really important. Like, it should be easy, you shouldn't be bumping your head on the ceiling.
You shouldn't feel like you're in the army doing commando rolls all over the bed to get out of the bed. The other question people often ask is, well, how many cabins is enough? So some people like 3 cabins, some people like 4 cabins and more. If it's a charter boat and you're buying it for charter, obviously the more cabins there are, the better it is. But when you're talking about live aboard, you got to look at how many people are going to be living aboard to start with, and then how many people promise to come and visit you while you're sailing, which is, there's all good intentions, but often you don't get the visitors through that say they're going to come and visit you. So the main thing is work out for you how you are going to live aboard and what sort of function you have. So if there's enough room for you and the kids or whatever it is, and then there's a spare cabin or somewhere that you can relocate someone so that you can put someone in a cabin, then that's an option. We really love the owner's cabin, because when you're a live aboard, it's surprising how small the boat becomes after a while.
It's usually the case that you don't need as many cabins as you think you do before you start, and that's our experience, but other people may have different things. And the other space thing in the cabins is in the shower. Just go into the shower and pretend you're having a shower. Do your elbows hit the walls, because some showers I've been in boats, you're like this, they're so tight you can't actually get your elbows out.
And then you're in really big trouble when you drop the soap. There is no picking that soap up.
Soap in showers, we better not go there, hadn't we? Okay, moving right along. Engine compartment. That'd be your area.
Oh yes, obviously. I'm going to flick it over to you because clearly it's your area.
Okay, I mean, nothing rocket science about this one, but go into the engine room, have a look at how the engines are laid out. Does it look neat and tidy? Is the wiring really nicely done and easy to follow? But more importantly, how easy is the engine going to be to service? There is always work to be done in the engine. Is it easy to get to all the parts? Because if it's not, then you're going to have a much harder job doing the simple maintenance stuff.
You have to just do like a frog. You know how frogs can slither into little
Awkward
compartments?
Yeah.
Like under doors and all sorts of places.
I've passed my frog stage, unfortunately.
But it's really important.
And I mean, the one other thing that's worth thinking about in the engine compartment is, are there fire suppression systems that are automated that you can have as an option? So ask the salesman about that. Mm-hmm. Storage in the boat. Over to you, honey. This definitely is your area.
Yeah, so storage.
How do you judge how much storage is on a boat, and is it enough when you're looking at it? Because all the cupboards are going to be empty. It's going to be looking really good. You've got cupboards there, you've got cupboards there.
You've really got to open up all the cabinetry and have a look at what depth is in there. And spend a bit of time thinking about, where am I going to put everything? Pots, pans, containers, food. Is there
knives, forks, plates?
And is it accessible, easy accessible, or have you got to get down, crouch down, and almost like be the frog to try and get plates out every time you need a meal? Is this going to be workable for you?
Now let's move on to slightly more technical parts of the boat review. Let's talk about the bow locker. At the back end of the bow locker is a bulkhead. Now this should be a watertight bulkhead, and most boat builders will say this is a watertight bulkhead. What you need to check is there a hole at the bottom of this bulkhead which allows water that gets into that section of the boat to drain out to your main hulls and where the bilge pumps are in the middle of the boat. If that's the case, then this is not a watertight bulkhead, which to me raises red flags immediately. And it's amazing how many big brand boats have bulkheads that should be watertight and they are not. So you can physically check this. That is a very important flotation area if you get holed. If it's not watertight, then when your hull fills up with water, water will flow forward through that bulkhead and fill up the bow of your boat and you will sink. The next thing to do when you're in the hulls of the boat is to have a look underneath the floors. That will reveal quite a lot about how the boat is built and the kind of care that the builders take. The first thing you'll notice is the glass sanded and painted with flow coat or some kind of smooth covering, so when you're crawling in doing work in the hulls, you won't get fiberglass jags sticking into you. So that's a reflection of the quality of the build. The other thing that's really important is to look underneath the floor of the hull to check how many bilge pumps there are and the volumes of those bilge pumps, so you have some idea of the amount of water that will be drained out of the boat if you get a hole. The other thing you should do with your bilge pumps is just follow the electrical cord up the bulkheads and see where the first join is. Is there a connection about a foot above the bilge pump itself where it's screwed in as an electrical connection? Because if that's the case, as soon as water gets up to that connection, it will, with the salt water, it'll just short out and it'll stop working. So a good thing to look for, which is a real worry in crisis situations. When you're down in the hull, you can also look to see how the bulkheads are glassed or attached to the hull. So the main bulkhead will be below the mast. Go down into the hull about that point to see if you can see, is it glassed in whatever way the salesman has told you. Does it look like it's really secure, or is it a square join with glue, or just a very thin fillet of glue, or is it actually glassed with several layers of glass to give it that strength and that strong level of attachment?
When he says glass, he really means fiberglass, just for those people. He doesn't mean like see-through transparent window glass. Okay, so another really important thing to have a look at is the heart of the whole boat, which is the electrical board. If you have a look at that and it's really messy like a dog's breakfast, then there may be some concerns.
So look to see how the wires are run into the electrical board, and are they easy to follow, or are they all numbered with a reference in the manual that comes with the boat. You will always have electrical issues on a boat at some point, and you have to be able to find the switch or the wire to rerun or to replace the fuses, etc., etc. The professionalism of the fitting of the electrical board is also a good reflection of how the rest of the boat is wired. So have a look at that and it'll give you some idea of the quality of the build. But let's move on to the money matters. You're starting to get serious about actually buying a boat. The questions you need to ask are, in my mind, the following: how much does it cost? You need to have the options, and you need to get the options list so you can calculate exactly how much this boat costs compared to the competitors that you're also looking at, equally fitted out, because a lot of brands attract you in by a very low base price, and then they have absolutely everything has to be paid for as an extra.
So what you're saying is find out what's included.
Yeah, find out what's included and work out what you're going to need, and then compare different brands with all those things added together. A simple question is, with the base boat, is it saleable or not? The other question that is important, if you're not sure, certainly it's valuable to know anyway, is there a cooling off period? So once you've signed the contract, do you have 24, 48 hours or a week to change your mind? And also, is the deposit refundable? So for example, if something happens to you and your finances change or your health changes, are you going to lose the deposit, which is often 10 or 15%, sometimes 20%? Is that money you will lose, or is that something that they will refund you once the boat is sold to somebody else? What we've said today really isn't complete, and there is much more detail we could have gone into, but these are sort of some broad guidelines that I hope will be very useful for you all when you're going to check out boats, so you can get the most out of your visits to the boat show.
Just remember, guys, this is supposed to be a very thrilling time in your life, so don't get stressed about it. Just keep relaxed, and just keep on telling yourself it's an exciting experience, it's a wonderful journey, so just kick back and enjoy it.
Great advice.
So, signing off right here on location in Cape Town, South Africa. And we're here because why?
I'm helping a friend of ours, Mark O'Leary, sail his brand new Leopard 50 from Cape Town all the way to Annapolis.
Across the Atlantic.
So that'll be great fun. We'll take you along with us, and hopefully that'll be a wonderful adventure.
So guys, hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I hope it helps next time you go to the boat show or you're having a look at buying a boat. So that's it from us, guys. So enjoy the journey, have lots of fun, and we'll see you next time.
All the best, guys. Bye.
Thanks for watching, guys, and if you like what we do, show us the love and hit the like button. Then hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell as well, so you don't miss out on your regular fix. Then kick off your shoes and you can come barefoot with us. He just says it like that, doesn't he? He's so good. I waffle. I'm a waffler. So.
Are you a waffler?
I think so.
Tell me about your waffling, honey.
But he's so good at it. I don't know what. I should just sit here.
No, honey. Okay.
Not say anything. And we send lots of love and enjoy the journey.